Welcome to episode 36. So good to be with you today, as always. So, I'm going to do something really different today, and I hope it will feel like fun to you. It feels like fun to me. I just came across something on Facebook, and I know when we mention A Course in Miracles to people who are not steeped in it or familiar, it sounds like a cult or something really weird or very far away from everyday life. And it's actually the opposite. It's such a practical way to live a more loving, fulfilled life. It's more grounding than it is airy-fairy, taking you away. People who are not on a conscious spiritual path sometimes think that people who are either spiritual or religious are not in the world in the same kind of involved way. And it actually makes all of us more present. It's really about presence, isn't it? Isn't that what we're all looking for? Isn't that what peace is? Peace is not in a fight. Peace is not lacking anything. Peace is contentment. Peace is allowing. And being in the world with presence is all of those things. So going back to what I would like to do today, excuse me, I have such an itch on my nose. I came across this thing called middle-aged humor. And of course, these are wisdoms that have come to a person who was aging. And then the point at the end is that obviously this would be useful at any age to know these things. Of course, I lost the page now that I want to refer to. Here we go. So I want to take these little wisdoms and connect them to A Course in Miracles. And I'm just going to do it off the cuff. So I think that we could even do a more involved connection and search for what are the Course in Miracles tenets that underlie these wisdoms. So the first one says, after loving my parents, my siblings, my spouse, my children, and my friends, I've now started loving myself. Oh my God, we could stop and start with that. Course says the only real problem we have is a belief in separation. So this person has divided all their love into all of these particular people, but for most of his or her life have kept themselves out of the loop. How many of us treat other people in a more loving way than we treat ourselves? That's something to ponder right there. But if you go beneath that and go with the Course, there is only one being, and that's non-duality. One being, only one. So every time we say better than, worse than, me and not him, Yes for me, no for them, no for them, yes for me. Any one of those. We're in trouble. We're in the ego's world. We're in the world of pain and suffering. So we could go on with that. We could just stop and start with that. But let's have fun and go to these other wisdoms on the list. I have realized, number 2, that I am not Atlas, quote unquote. The world does not rest on my shoulders. Well, you could say maybe that's in contrast or conflict with the Course. But if you would prefer to be in consonance, not in, there's a way to argue with anything. And so the Course says you are responsible for the world that you see. You're not responsible for the storms and for all the things that happen. I mean, some people would say you are, because there is only the one mind. And in that sense, we are responsible for everything because we are part of the one mind. But this particular wisdom is about being a busybody and deciding that you know what's best for other people. You know what's right. I know what should happen. I know what's the kinder. I know what's the better. I know. And the Course tells us we know nothing. And in the minute we start going back to, I don't know what anything is for, we'll be more of an Atlas than we are when we're directing traffic. So we can just let that directorship have a rest. Number 3, I have stopped bargaining with vegetable and fruit vendors. I love this. A few pennies more is not going to break me, but it might help the poor fellow save for his daughter's school fees. Well, if we take it off vegetable and fruit vendors and go to, maybe there's an independent bookstore that charges a little more than Amazon, or I'm just visiting in Philadelphia, and this wonderful small town hardware store is closing. And I mean, yeah, I hardly ever go there because I'm never here. And if I were here, would I buy things from the big box store where it's cheaper? But what if I spent more time supporting the local businesses? That's what this fruit and vegetable vendor account is like. So I save a few pennies here and there. At the end of my life, it's going to make no difference. But what if it put food on the table, or an extra book, or an ice cream cone for the whole family? Think of that pleasure as the oneness, as my pleasure, rather than I'm spending more so they can have more. That's outside of the oneness. Giving and receiving, the Course tells us, is exactly the same. So much for that one. We could go on with that one too. Number 4, I leave my waitress a big tip. The extra money might bring a smile to her face. She is toiling much harder for a living than I am. Yes, we could go with the extra tip, and waiters and waitresses do work super hard. But what if we start to think the way the Course teaches us, that every thought, every feeling, every goal, every movement is significant. We don't know the miracles that could be received by another when we accept the miracle for ourselves. Every time we're going to be small and choose again to be big and wide open and generous. And generous meaning there is no other we're giving it to. There is no other we're withholding from. Withholding here might be the key concept. We're talking about giving a bigger tip. And we focus on giving. Should I give that? Should I give that? How much? But what about focusing on that withholding? I remember one of the big deals from Marianne Williamson that stayed with me for 40 years is whatever you feel like withholding, that's what you should be giving. That's a paraphrase, but we could spend much more time focusing on what we're trying to withhold, because whatever that is the symbol for what we're experiencing as a lack. That old adage, if you want a friend, be a friend. If you want more money, be more generous. Isn't that what tithing is about? If you want anything, it shows what you're withholding in a metaphoric way. So we have to get a little bigger than the specifics. All right, I think we covered that one. Number 5, I stopped telling the elderly that they've already told that story many times. The story makes them walk down memory lane and relive their past. I have to chuckle at this because my sister told me a story 3 times within a day. And it so freaked me out because she's only 3 years older. And I said to my daughter, if I start repeating stories to you, you have to tell me I'm doing that, because I don't want to be teaching anymore if I continue to do that, if I'm doing that without realizing it. But you know what? The Course tells us never correct a brother. There I was judging my sister, scared about her losing her brains, having some kind of dementia. But of course, I was scared about myself. And going back to, there's only one of us here. So I'm always talking about myself anyway. What if I just chilled and loved the story each time and allowed her the dignity, or anybody, allowed myself the dignity? And what if my students needed to hear that story 3 times? Who am I to say I should act like a young person and never repeat myself? So I think I'm going to change what I just said a few days ago about stopping teaching when I'm repeating myself. So I'm going to leave it up to Spirit to direct my speech, as always. And I correct all the consequences of that wrong decision a few days ago. Number 7. This is a really interesting one. I give compliments freely and generously. Compliments are a mood enhancer, not only for the recipient, but also for me. Well, there's only one of us here. And a small tip, this is the one I like. For the recipient of the compliment, never, never turn it down. Just say thank you. How many of us push away the compliment? How many of us don't allow it in? I remember something funny happening recently. I teach for another organization, and sometimes I would like to hear, oh, that was a great class, or people really enjoyed your class, or I liked this or that you said, or something like that. Just some interaction, some probably approval. But I know the person approves of me. I just like to hear it because my love language is auditory. But when she said it, after she learned that I am auditory and like those things, I turned it away and didn't trust it. I think she said it was a wonderful class. And I thought, oh, she's saying that because she knows that I like to hear it. So I discounted it. Oh, I take that back. I forgive myself for turning away that love, for attacking this person, for making their compliment valueless. So this lesson here in this number 7, you remember that line from the Course that says, I will not value what is valueless? Well, what if we turn that around and say, I will value what is valuable? And when someone is attempting to love on us and give us their words, which are part of their curriculum, so that means it's God's curriculum interacting with us. Who are we to turn that down? Who are we? We are the one. So we're turning down love. We're turning down all love because there's only the one love. There aren't all these different kinds of love. So I'm sure there's some other good tenet there for the Course, maybe all the material on attack, and it's vast. The Course makes a great contribution in the human understanding how deeply we attack ourselves and others. That's what the ego is, and it's an attack system based on a belief in separation and based on the guilt that we feel we will be punished for this believed separation. So not accepting a compliment is an attack on the other, an attack on ourselves, and an attack on the knowing of the oneness. Number 8, I have learned not to bother about a crease or a spot on my shirt. Personality speaks louder than appearance. Oh, isn't that great? we don't have to limit that to a spot on the shirt. We could say any appearance, concerns. I visited my niece recently, and I was telling her something about my Enneagram classes, because she was asking me, her mother had gone to my classes. And my niece said, "Are those a lot of old people that take your classes?" Because her mother took my classes. And she said, "Do they change? Are they interested in change? Can they make changes?" And all of a sudden, I saw how old she saw me. There is appearance, there is age, and then her take on older people, that they don't change. And I had a take on her that she probably was less interested in changing than the people in my classes who've lived longer and are more tired of their old ways. But look at my judgment. Look at her judgment. Everybody judging each other. How is that going to take us to the same place that we're all looking to go, that place of where the peace passes all understanding? So image, this is about the spot on the shirt and image. What if I'm no age? What if I'm only now? The oneness has no age. The oneness has no gender. The oneness has no opinion about the spot on my shirt or my age or my wrinkles or who changes, who doesn't, who needs to change, who doesn't. Oneness requires no doing at all. I need do nothing, says the Course. You are already sufficient. So no enneagrams are needed, no text for A Course in Miracles, no lessons. Underneath on lesson 189, just bring me your open-hearted self. Leave the text, leave everything. Just come to me with open arms. And that brings up the willingness. So probably that will come up in another one. Then number 9 says, I walk away from people who don't value me. They might not know my worth, but I do. Well, there is only one of us. So the Course tells us not to engage in struggles with people who trigger us, but definitely use them as our teachers to show us more of that self-love. And when we truly love ourselves, I really do believe people won't be walking away from us. I feel that walking away is a reflection of our inner position. So when this person says they know their worth, well, there's even more for them to know. And we won't be having these dances of people rejecting us. I'll say something else about rejection. My Enneagram was really about people anticipating that people will reject me. And so I spent a lot of my life assuming that. it's just each Enneagram has a particular lens, and it's valuable to know what that lens was so you can notice that it's not true when you think it's happening. And almost every time, even still, there are times that when I have a class that's gone on for 2 years and the same people are in the class. And sometimes when I get a letter that's just overflowing with love and compliments, when the letter comes, I first think, oh, now they're going to leave because now they've had enough. They can't possibly want to continue. And I love seeing those residues of that old personality because I don't live from that place anymore. I don't hear those thoughts very often. And there are residues of them still there. So I thought that was funny the other day when this overflowingly complimentary letter came. And I thought, oh, they're leaving. Oh, they're leaving. No, they weren't leaving. And if they left, it wouldn't mean any rejection of me. I do know that. But yet there's that residue. So there it is. Number 10, I remain cool when someone plays dirty to outrun me in the rat race. What rat race? I am not a rat and neither am I in any race. So here we have that perceived competition. It appears that someone's ahead and we're behind, or someone else knows and we don't know. And you hear that in course classes. Often I hear people identifying themselves as, oh, I'm a newbie. I'm only in this 5 years. I'm only in this 1 year. What is that? What is that status of the person who's there 20 years and 40 years and 5 years? And what are those categories we're putting people in? Are we putting ourselves in? Let's just be cognizant of that, because I think in course language, it really tells us compare and despair. Comparisons never are of spirit. They're always of the ego saying that we're either better or worse than someone else. And this rat race is very much about control. And we've been conditioned to be in a world of control. And there's a way to participate, not in the competition and not in the control, but in the activity without needing to win or lose or make someone else better or worse. We can still participate in life without engaging in that dynamic. And the Course says that's very, very clear. And one of the ways to do that is to make Spirit our teacher, make only the one voice our guide, and we'll be told what to say, what to do, and to whom, and when. And then there's nothing else to compete about. We're inner directed to the outer. We know what to do. And it's that knowing that takes away all of that control, that need for control. And of course, therein lies the trust that our friend Dove tells us so much about. So deep his teaching is on trust. If you haven't heard it, look it up. Ask Dove about trust. He'll be glad to tell you about it. Let's see, what's next? I'm learning not to be embarrassed by my emotions It's my emotions that make me human. Well, I think we're running out of time. So I will finish up with this one and maybe we'll continue next time. I'm learning not to be embarrassed by my emotions. My goodness. The Course is very, very clear. Don't pretend you feel something other than what you feel. Authenticity in the now and being fully human, fully transparent. It's the cover-ups, and trying not to have emotions is a cover-up. We can't get to heaven without truth. Heaven is right here, and heaven is that causeless joy that we're all seeking, that is available every time, every moment that we are in the now, listening to Spirit, being the one that we came with, being the one that we are, being the one that is available to us right now, right here, right today. You don't have to complete your lessons to feel the peace right now. Love is available to us right now. What is love? Not Hollywood love. It's just that connection with the one where nothing is lacking. Peace is here. Resonance is here. Resonance with whatever is. Letting go of any struggles, any need to improve, any beliefs in lack or separation. I love you. Thank you for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed this list, and bye for now.